Welcome to Building the $1 Billion Business, the podcast where we dive deep into the strategies, insights, and stories behind the world's most successful financial advisors and introduce content and actionable ideas to fuel your growth. Together, we'll unlock the methods, tactics, and mindset shifts that set the top 1% apart from the rest. I'm Sclafani, and I'll be your host. The very best of your next generation leaders are not asking for a job. They're asking for a future they can envision. And now that is a very different conversation. Many founders and senior leaders came up in a different era. You worked hard, you waited your turn, you proved yourself, and then the opportunity became visible later on. Now that model just doesn't work as well today. Not because the next generation lacks drive. In fact, I think that's a lazy interpretation. A better read is that they want to understand the deal. They want to know what they are learning and who's developing them. They want to know where they can go in your firm, and they want to know how their work matters. They want to know what kind of leader they can become, and most importantly, they want to know how AI will affect their role and whether the firm will help them grow with it. Deloitte's 2025 Gen Z and Millennials survey found that only 6% of Gen Z and Millennial respondents said their primary career goal was to reach a leadership position. Now, that doesn't mean they lack ambition. In fact, Deloitte's findings point to a different definition of ambition, one that includes growth, meaning, money, well-being, and a more thoughtful pace of development. Now, this should get every advisory firm's attention. If your next generation talent does not see a future with your firm, they will start imagining one elsewhere. Career pathing is no longer a nice benefit, it's a retention strategy. Schwab's study in 2025, their research showed that 77% of firms offer career pathing opportunities and 67% offer coaching or mentorship program. Now, this indicates the market is moving in the right direction. A firm with no clear development path for each professional in their firm is not standing still, it's simply falling behind. Now, here's an actionable idea. You want to build visible career paths for every role in your firm. And I wouldn't start with a complex model. Start with simplicity and clarity. First, define the roles. For advisors, it might include a pathway that is client service associate to planning associate, associate advisor, servicing advisor, lead advisor, partner team leader, enterprise leader. In fact, the CFP board a few years ago put out a terrific piece sort of showing that stair step. And we'll drop that in the show notes so you can find that easy. For like somebody in operations, you might start with specialist, manager, director, enterprise operator. Somebody in a leadership role, it might include people manager, team leader, director of HR, market leader, executive leader. Every role should have a purpose. Each role should have clear expectations. Each role should have the skills needed to succeed. Then you want to define, second, the progression. People need to know what it takes to move from one role to the next. That includes technical skill set, client relationship management skill set, leadership skill set, maybe some business development expectations, decision rights, and cultural behaviors. In other words, you want to be specific. You don't want to say, show leadership. Instead, describe what leadership looks like in the specific role assigned. Does it mean mentoring a newer employee, leading a client meeting, running a planning process, managing a workflow or a project for the team, giving feedback, solving problems without escalation? See, specificity builds trust. Now, the third thing you want to do is connect the career pathing to actual development. This is interesting. In our Business Builders Academy, we have a section in our agenda for each day that includes maybe 30 minutes, no more, where an advisor in the room shares with his or her peers something they're working on with their firm. We call this section of the day the show, no tell. Don't tell us about what you're doing. Show us what you're doing. And this advisor decided to share with the group their career pathing. And it was awesome. They were really clear about the roles. They were really clear about the stair step, how you move from one to the next, the skills, the competencies, the experiences. It was really specific. But then they got to this section around connecting the career pathing to development. This is this third step I'm sharing with you today. And I simply asked the advisor, I said, man, these charts are beautiful. The diagrams are excellent. What do you got to do development wise to move from one section to the next? And his eyes got wide and he kind of a blank stare. He said, Ray, I haven't really gotten that far. We just built these so we could track people on their career path from one stage to the next. I said, okay, excellent. Now, the next step is every employee's got to have a development objective, not some vague hope, a real objective. One person may need to move and improve their client presence. Another one may need to learn how to lead meetings. Another one may need deeper planning expertise. Another may need to build confidence with business owners. Somebody else may need to learn how to manage people. The manager's job is to connect today's work to tomorrow's opportunity. Everybody can understand what the career pathing track is, but what are the skills, the competencies, and experiences? Let me say that again. The skills, the competencies, and experiences worth improving. By the way, we'll do another episode on that development path, but there's three truths. There's the leader's truth. There's the professional on the team, their truth about their performance. And then there's the real truth. If you haven't spelled out the skills, competencies, and experiences, you're going to have a really difficult time measuring the gaps. So you can understand, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to improve? That's really important. Now, the fourth part of today's episode may sound trite. You may think, oh, that doesn't really matter. But I believe you've got to explain how AI changes the path. Now, this is a part of career development many people aren't talking about, but advisors and leaders on teams are asking me, hey, Ray, how do you think AI is going to make my role less valuable? I don't know that that's the right question. I think it's, hey, what's the shift? For each role, you want to think about how will AI impact the role, and then which skills are going to become more valuable, and how the firm's going to train everybody to use AI responsibly. AI may reduce the need for certain administrative tasks and improve workflows and processes, but it can also increase the value of empathy and judgment and planning and decision making and communication and client strategy and relationship leadership. So say it plainly. If you don't address it, everybody's thinking it. And then fifth, make ownership expectations clear. In advisory firms, ambiguity about ownership breeds frustration. Some people think partnership is a title. Some think it's about compensation. Some think it's about equity. Some think it's about influence, and other people think it's just a promise. Don't let people guess. Define the passages to partnership, either non-producing partners as well as producing partners. Think about partnership as income partner as well as equity partner. Define what it means to be an equity owner. Define what it requires. Define how business development, new client acquisition, leadership, client retention, cultural contribution, and enterprise thinking factor into it. Now, notice I gave you kind of a 4-box way of thinking about this. You want a producing partner path and you want a non-producing partner path. You want to think about income partnership as well as equity partnership. The future should not be a hallway with locked doors. Here's the practical step. Ask every manager to hold a career conversation with each direct report within the next 60 to 90 days. The conversation should address 4 questions. Where are you now? Where do you want to grow next? What skills, competencies, and experiences must be further developed? And then lastly, what will you create for our team and our clients in the next 12 months? Now, that one conversation can change retention, not because it solves everything, but because it tells the employee something important. We see you, we hear you, we're investing in you, and there's a future here worth building. The next generation does not need false promises. They need honest visibility. The firms that provide it will retain more top talent, they'll develop better leaders, and build more durable businesses. With each episode, we provide a few coaching questions for reflection. Today, I've got 4. First, can every high potential employee at your firm see a future worth working toward? Number 2, where are career paths clearly defined and where are they implied but not yet documented? Number 3, Which roles will AI reshape first? And how are you preparing your team for that shift? Number 4, who needs a development conversation before they start taking calls from another firm? Hey, thanks for listening today. Please like and share this episode with someone you know needs to hear it. Well, thanks for tuning in, and that's a wrap. Until next time, this is Ray Sclafani. Keep building, growing, and striving for greatness. Together, we'll redefine what's possible in the world of wealth management. Be sure to check back for our latest episode and article.